Kevin, an open question to you this morning with all the punditry and all that. What stood out to you between the dark gray suits and the white dresses?
I live for State of the Union coverage. Look, there's a couple things, and I was thinking about this on the way into work today. First and foremost, the nonpartisanship. There were brief moments of collective brevity amongst lawmakers, most notably for me, when Senator Kirsten Gillibrand walked in with Senator Ted Cruz. There's a sight you don't see every day. Two partisan ideologues walking into the chamber together one by one. You also had another moment where President Trump went off message, or not off message, off prompter, so to speak, Tom, and basically said to Democrats, you're going to love this next line, and applauded them for electing the most women ever elected to Congress. And lawmakers in both parties, stood on their feet for that. I thought that was another nice unifying moment. Policy. The president doubling down on the wall. I'm not sure that does much to move the needle. He didn't declare a national emergency. Could have been a worse situation if he did in terms of the shutdown. Senator Chris Coons, who I spoke with right after the speech, said that the moment where he criticized the investigations was, quote unquote, chilling.
Well, there's a lot of coverage today, and we'll have this through. David Weston really focusing on this in the 12 noon hour with his trip to Washington and his coverage last night with Mr. Cirilli. What I want to do here with all the flow is remember there was a reply. She is a remarkable woman from Georgia, Stacey Abrams. She is rising within the Democratic Party, and it is an honor to see her give the Democratic reply. Here is Ms. Abrams.
In Georgia and around the country, people are striving for a middle class where a salary truly equals economic security. But instead, families' hopes are being crushed by Republican leadership that ignores real life or just doesn't understand it.
Well, the divide that is there, and of course the president talking about his economic miracle. Let me look at what Jonathan Bernstein said. We thank Mr. Bernstein for writing quickly for Bloomberg Opinion. Not much out there in analysis or op-ed, and we're thrilled that Mr. Bernstein and our editors could get it done. The president's speech was far more focused on the folks in the gallery, some heroes, some victims. His initial plea for cooperation fell flat when he mentioned the Democrat agenda rather than the Democratic agenda, which injected a harsh partisan note. Another wasted opportunity. Kevin, I thought of you there in that every little nuance of the battle forward matters as well. Does he help his Republican Party when he goes Fox TV there?
I don't think he made overall, I don't think that President Trump made the political situation for himself worse last night. I don't want to call it a wash, but I think in terms of by not declaring a national emergency, he essentially said, Leader McConnell, Senator Schumer, come up with a deal. And that, I think, is going to be in the immediate short term where this moves forward. Now, Democrats are obviously not going to like it. Republicans will like most of what they heard last night. In terms of policy, if you're waking up in Europe this morning and you're looking at where trade policy goes from now, the president doubled down on all of his trade policy, whether it be with China or with Mexico and Canada, or even with Europe. He did ask the Congress to pass legislation to make it more difficult for countries to increase their tariffs.
Yes, nice one, Kevin. European investors certainly were waking up wanting to hear more than anything about what the president had to say on trade. And as you say, not a lot coming out of that, but also, of course, European investors always keeping an eye on the U.S. economy. And here there really was a sense that the president inflated economic achievements if you compare it against data.
I think you could look at it in terms of where things are headed. I think that from the sources that I talk with at the White House, they say that the economy is something that they want to talk about. They feel it's a story that they want to continue on with. Democrats will say, well, as we heard from Stacey Abrams, that it's not doing enough for the middle class. But again, the broad takeaway, like snapshot, 30,000-foot view, Naira, is if you're looking at where this goes, if you're looking at the volatility, The president is set to negotiate with Chinese leaders. March 1st still remains that deadline. The debt ceiling coming up. In the immediate next couple of days, they have to reach a deal to keep the government open. Market reaction not really moving on that. Then you head into the end of February where you have the president negotiating with Kim Jong-un. Will he have a one-off after that? Has been rumored to meet with President Xi. So again, I'm not sure the State of the Union changes the discourse entirely, but I don't think it did anything to put in jeopardy all of those major events that I just alluded to.